Welcome everybody. It's the Third Dimension Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest in hand, Menelek Luke.
Yes.
What's going on, guys?
What's going on, brother? It's your boy TG to all the cameras that we got going.
Hey.
Welcome to another edition of the Third Dimension Podcast. Extremely special guest that I'm super excited about.
Yes.
This is going to go into our Mind series. And I think we have the perfect person or another perfect person to get on here to really share their story. Just pretty much everything when it comes to the mental side of winning at everything.
Winning at everything, and also the mental side on how to learn.
Yes.
You know, because most of the time we think because we can't achieve something,
Yeah.
there's no way to get around that.
Absolutely.
You know, so today, today's topic and today's guest will help us to break that barrier.
Definitely. So let's go ahead and kick it off, man. Let the world know who you are, man. Tell us, your name, where we can find you. Let us know.
Yeah, my name is Menelek Luke. What I do, help with education from all the way from like kindergarten, high school, post-secondary, and then adults as well. That's primarily what my goal and objective is to do. Where you can find me, you can give me a call on Instagram. Website is lukestutoring.com. So if you want to get in contact with me about your professional development, that's where you can find me.
Perfect.
It's amazing. So how long have you been doing that for?
Luke's Tutoring's officially since 2011. 2011, yeah.
Bro, 9 years. And going and counting.
Yeah, 9 years. This will be the 9th year, yeah.
Wow.
That just hit me, man.
Yeah.
Like 9 years ago, it was 2011. Jeez,
Yeah.
man. I'm getting old.
Time passes when you're having fun, so.
Amen to that.
100%. I was up till 4:30 in the morning last night editing an episode that me and Durrel shot. So yes, when you are having fun, you like what you're doing, man, I can definitely,
for sure.
I can
Time
attest
is
to
Yeah,
that.
man.
Man, since we started this, dude, like I can't go to sleep at a regular time because I don't want to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll spend time with the girlfriend, and then like she goes to bed, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm about to start editing like all night. Next thing you know, I gotta get up in 4 hours for work, man. So I get it. But let's go ahead and kick it off, brother. The first question we had is obviously you being an educator. When did you know that you wanted to be an educator, man? Because you don't hear a lot of guys our age. Because I imagine, where were you born? You're millennial, right?
He's 93. Yeah, I was born 93.
Dang, there you go, right?
Yeah.
So you don't hear a lot of guys your age choosing to go into that industry as their businessman. So when did you know it? What made you go into that?
I honestly still don't really know, because I just know at the end of the day I could help someone that I'm ahead of. Like I could help someone at a goal that I've already achieved and they're trying to achieve it. So there's certain people I just can't help because I haven't actually done proof of concept yet. So what I can tell you is that I just know that when I was in elementary school, I wasn't always the smartest person, but I was the most willing to help, because I've kind of been there where I'm just like, who do I turn to? And it's not a good feeling to have. So I wouldn't say I just woke up one day and I said like I'm going to be an educator. It's just based off your actions. Either you want to help or you don't want to help, type of thing. Yeah, man.
I think that's one of the hardest things too. Most people hate the feeling of not feeling intellectual.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Especially some people are scared to ask for help.
Yeah.
You know, but once they know help is there, I think they will be less scared to go out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And ask for the help so they can get to that next level, like you were saying.
Yeah, man.
You know, so I think what you're doing is amazing, man.
If you're gonna do education, there's 3 things that humans always go to. One is nutrition, food, education, and last one is like self-defense, fighting. Those are the 3 things that if the world were to go to the end, those are the 3 things that people really rely on, right? You need to have those 3. So if you're ever gonna go into education, I think one of those 3, you'll have an abundance of people that will always be looking for that kind of help.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I've actually never heard anybody say that, man. That's actually amazing. When just breaking it down that way, because you're right. If you really strip it down to its bare minimum, you're right. Those are 3 things are such a human necessity.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome,
To
man.
survive and just to do well.
100%. And even for the world out there watching and listening, man, like a lot of people don't know this about me, but I actually wanted to be a teacher for many years, man.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Definitely, man. I wanted to be a teacher. Probably until, even to this day, man, I have a passion for it. So I get it, man. I have a passion to give. When I know something, I definitely want to give it away. Definitely not one that holds their cards close to them. I've never been that way. I've been, obviously, I think with, my life and everything, I've always been a very, like, I guess, a kind of bit of abundant mindset.
Yeah.
So I think that's what made me want to give. But really, the main thing for me, man, what motivated me when I first was like looking into like, okay, I wanted to be an educator, is I got lucky, man. I had really good teachers.
Yeah.
Like every grade that I went to, for whatever reason, man, I got really lucky, and I had one or two teachers that truly impacted my life to this day. And it was because of them that's why I like seriously contemplated going into teaching.
Right.
Because I remember at the time of my life how impactful they were to me.
Yeah.
Especially one of my teachers, Miss Aldridge. She was my English teacher in my senior year of high school, or for that's Americans, but like my 12th grade year for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
She was literally, man, one of the most creative, impactful, like warm-hearted educator that I've ever had in my life. She made subjects that we didn't necessarily be excited about hearing about, especially when you're 18 years old, 17, 18, right?
Yeah.
She made it exciting. I would look forward to going to her class. She, to this day, man, is the number one person that if I could say I had a favorite teacher my whole life. And the funny thing is I didn't have her for a few years. It was literally like maybe 6 months. And it was my last year of me in high school. Yeah. But that 6 months in her class, man, legitimately made me realize that when you're a young person and an educator that truly loves to do what they do can literally set someone on such a beautiful path for the rest of their life. And because of her, man, like I literally was like, dude, I need to impact people in that age. And I wanted to teach high school. That's the thing. I didn't want to go into like the little kids. I didn't want to do middle school. I wanted to teach high school because at that point, you know, you can actually communicate with a high schooler. You can reason with them. But I kind of wanted to steer like the young adult, because when I was a young adult, and my teachers and because I played football too, they kept me on such a straight and narrow, man. So that's kind of where, I don't know if like you feel the same way, but that was kind of my thing too.
Yeah, really all grades is kind of what it is. The reason why a lot of people don't like working with younger people, or I should say younger children, is because younger children are like the most honest people you'll come across. Yes. And if they don't like what you're saying or they don't like what they do, they're just not going to do it. They won't pay attention, and they'll just straight up tell you. And it's not a form of disrespect, it's just pure honesty. So like sometimes when I work with the younger kids and when I used to work with young kids and I see them losing like interest, I ask them, well, what do you want to do? And they'll tell me. So then we'll just do that, because it's just like we teach these little kids to say like, you know, pay attention. But it's like, no, I don't have to pay attention. If I don't like it, why should I pay attention to this? Oh, because it's showing respect. Well, I think it's disrespectful that you're wasting my time, to be honest, because you're making me now pay attention to something that is boring, and it should be my time. I should be able to do what I want with my time. Yeah. Right? You can't go to an adult and be like, sit down here and listen to this, and you're forcing them to do this because you think it's going to be good for them, and eventually they end up never using that again. Right? Some of the math that the kids learn, they never end up using it again. So now it is disrespectful to tell someone, you got to come to this place to sit down and listen to this, because you're going to need this, and 4 years later when they graduate, they never need it. Man. So when these kids are sitting down and they're just looking at you and they're just like, I don't like this class, they're not saying they don't like you, it's just that they don't like what you're teaching them. And then a lot of teachers take that as a disrespectful thing. It's like, oh, you don't like what I'm doing, you don't respect my job. It's like, no, I respect your job, but like you're teaching me things that I'm not going to use. Yeah, for sure. Right? I
think that's the main issue, man. How we can help these kids combat distractions, especially in the classroom setting. As a tutor, I'm trying to keep them engaged to what you're trying to help them with. Yeah. You know, I think acknowledging the impact that we as, well, yourself, I'm not an educator, you as an educator or teachers or professors out there, once they acknowledge that impact that they have on their students' lives outside of school, I think that will then give these kids something to look forward to, because they know that, because most of the students, they feel like that they're just just a number in the classroom setting. Definitely. You know, so once their teachers, profs, tutors make them feel special, you know, and give them a reason to show up to class. If they're struggling, don't point them out. Don't make them feel incompetent in any kind of sense, you know. So I feel like once teachers, and educators, once they find that impact that they know that they have, man, the distraction level will drop.
Well,
because
there's an honest truth to it though. When teachers are not going to be able to make every student feel special, there's one teacher, and usually the way you teach someone, there's 4 different kinds of personalities. So you have the analytical students who understand through reasoning, where they read and they understand. There's your direct students who like they'll tell you like, just tell me what it is. I don't show me the steps. Just tell me what you got, and I'll figure it out on my own. And there are your students who are kind of like, they're very hands-on. So like as a teacher, you're interacting with 30 students every new semester per class. You got 4 classes, so was that 120 students? There's no way. So the real honest truth is, not the teacher cannot make every student feel special, but as a parent, you only have maybe 1 or 2 kids. So when you go to the parent-teacher interview, you're just like, my kid doesn't feel special in your class, and the teacher's just like, he's hearing this probably from half the students. So what is that, 60 kids? So then you're just like, okay, well, how do I make these other 60 kids feel special? It's just not humanly possible. It really isn't humanly possible. So and on top of that is, do you really want the teacher to make your kid feel special? Your child should feel special based off of intrinsic factors, like, I'm showing up to class, I'm doing well. Because when they get to the job, as you guys know, when you get to a job, the entry-level job, that's where the most amount of people are. You're not going to feel special there. Your manager is not going to be able to make, who's managing 30 people, just like the way your teacher is managing 30 people, cannot make everyone feel special. So now you're putting them to the school system, which is literally made to set them up for real life. But when they get there, they're not going to feel special. And the higher you go up in a company, the less value your work is. And it sounds counterintuitive, but this is the reason why. You go from your technical worker to a manager. When you're a manager, your caseload is more, you get paid more, but you have to do more work. And if you are to spread across the work and the time you have, you actually are making just as much as the people you're managing, because you're now the people you manage 9 to 5, but you're 9 to 5 plus. Now plus cell phone plus laptop. And then you go from manager to director. You're valued even less. If you ever notice, even with sports teams, who the first person to get fired?
Usually top
level. You get your GM, then like the coach. You're never trading or cutting players.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
So going back to the school system, when kids come to me, they're like, I don't like my teacher, I don't feel valued. And I'm looking at them just like, they can change that, but that's not going to make you a better student. That's not going to make things better for you. Because when you get to university and there's like 100 kids in your class, you're going to feel the same way again. The issue is not the teacher doesn't like you, right? The issue is that you're letting the way the teacher treats you affect your schoolwork. I'm like, when you get to a job, what happens when you don't like a boss? Like you get hired by someone, and then that person leaves the company and they bring in a new person, and you've already put in 4 years with this company. What are you gonna do?
That's right.
Are you gonna just say, I don't like this person, let me do sloppy work?
Yeah.
You gotta decide and pick and choose certain battles at that point. So like a lot of the time when people are like, I want teachers to make students feel special, you can't do that, because you got to think about yourself. If you know 30 people, how many of that 30 people see you as the number one person in their life?
Right.
You can't be that number one person to 30 people. You can't. Yeah. So there's no way a teacher could do that. Right. It's not possible. It's just not possible.
Definitely. And let me jump back, man, because you mentioned something too that I think is super important. Because some of our friends and listeners have kids. Definitely says something that made my mind like light up. So obviously, you said the teacher and managers, they don't have the power, man. Like they don't have the capacity to give 45, 30, 120 people be like, oh, you're so special, special.
Yeah.
But you did mention that a parent has less than a handful for the most part.
That's right.
So what are some tips you can give to parents, man, to help their children have, a better education, a better educational experience? Like if you could think of like, 1, 2, whatever it is, what would you tell parents out there from like a grade schooler all the way through to, let's say, even, going to college, when they go propelling them to adulthood?
That's a good question. Okay, I'll give you an example. So in school, you learn about y equals mx plus b. You learn all this stuff that you're not going to use in real life. Unless you're going to go into a trade, you got to write provincial exams, etc., etc. But they don't teach taxes. Parents have been complaining they don't teach about taxes. They don't teach about mortgages. They don't teach about what loans and leasing and all that stuff is. And most of the reason why is because those rules and regulations change. So if you learn that in grade 8, by the time you get to adulthood, the rules are probably different. But let's just say the rules don't change. What are things you can do to help your child you have to teach them these things on your own.
Yes.
You can't keep complaining. And I'm not saying that the parents are wrong. They should be teaching even just the basics or the principles, but they're not teaching it, and then you're complaining about it and they still haven't changed it. Well, what can you do then? Mm-hmm. Right? You have to teach them it. You have YouTube, you have free resources, or when you go to do your taxes, if you're going to do your taxes, you know, if you're paying your accountant to do your taxes, ask them, hey, look, can my son or daughter sit down with you? How much extra would it cost for you to do the taxes? And whenever you do your taxes, if they're charging more, you can write it off as an extra expense, right? Because you can write off the amount for taxes. There's just certain ways you can do stuff. Now, that's like the objective factor. The subjective is what parents can do if they don't feel, if their child doesn't feel like they're being treated fairly by the student or by the teacher. And one of the things you can do as a parent is reward your child for intrinsic things. So your child sets a goal and like, hey, look, if you hit this goal, if you get this grade, right? Or if I see you study this many hours in, reward yourself.
Yes.
I'm going to give you your allowance. Maybe instead of me giving you your allowance and you going down to the store to buy something, I'll give you your allowance, and on top of that, if you do well, I'll give you double, right? So that way you know if you do better, I'm going to give you more. Because the worst thing you can do as a parent is go to a teacher and be like, my child doesn't feel like he's special or she's special in your class. And then you're basically telling your child is your work is valued on whether someone appreciates it or not. That is the worst thing you can do for a child. Wow. Because they're going to take that throughout their whole life. Man, there's times where you guys probably are at work and you're doing extra work all the time. Your lunch is supposed to be, I don't know, an hour, but you cut it to 30 minutes and then no one says anything. Mm-hmm. But you do it because you know you have your girlfriend, you want to be able to get all your work done. So when at 9 to 5, when 5 o'clock clicks out, you're going home. Your girlfriend doesn't know you did the extra work. Mm-hmm. None of your friends know. Yep. It's just like, well, why did you do it? Because like, I need to get that done. Right? And no one in the world, it's not like you can bank that, right? And then use it as a point system to go get gas with it. It's just like you're doing it because at the end of the day, you know you get your job done. Yeah. And there's going to be some days where it's a lot easier for you. Mm-hmm. And then you take your full hour lunch. But once you go over that hour, your companies start cracking down. Why are you taking more than an hour? But then you can't go like, well, last week I took 30 minutes. They don't care. They don't care, right? Yeah. So why'd you do it? Why'd you do it for 30 minutes? Because you knew at that time you had a job to get done.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
That's it, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's huge, man. It's that was to me powerful, man.
That was
like
very powerful.
Giving parents these little things they can do, man. Because like I want to be a father.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want kids or whatever. Obviously, once I get there, but that is definitely something that I agree with, man. Is that like you can only depend on the school system so much. Mm-hmm. You're right, man. Like us as people that have kids or even a little brother, it doesn't matter, man. If you have people that that are like younger than you, look up to you. Yeah, I do believe, and you do know.
If they instill some kind of knowledge from them from young.
Definitely.
Yeah, man.
And even though there's something that you said there that really stood out to me is like if you were doing your taxes. And there's an accountant. Ask your accountant, man, how much extra would it be if my son or daughter would sit right next to you and learn just the steps on how to.
The worst they'll say is no. They're not gonna jack your prices up or not do your taxes ever again.
Even with that being said, so that's a skill, and that skill will last them a lifetime.
Exactly.
And also that skill will also save them money.
That's right.
So now my question to you is, as an educator, how long? So in terms of to acquire a new skill or to learn something new, what would you say is what's the average time it would take for someone to learn or acquire a new skill?
It depends on the person. Mm-hmm. What I can say is, if I put a structure in place, I can say we've worked with, so our company's worked with well over 800 plus students. Wow. So whenever I do something, the first time I work with someone until now is completely night and day. Yeah. So I can say the average time it takes someone to learn this course in math takes 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. If they do an hour every day, it should take you 3 weeks. Your level of math is much lower, so I think it might take you a month to a month and a half. Mm-hmm. So it's a month and a half. But we're not going to wait until the end of the month to figure out when you're going to finish. Mm-hmm. We're going to go week by week.
Yes, definitely.
We track you week by week. So what we do is, when we sit down with someone, we make this academic plan. It's a 3-month plan. Mm-hmm. And in that 3-month plan, I'm saying this is where you should be at by the end of your 3 months. So usually semesters are 4 to 3 months. And then each week when they're working with their educator, because I hired educators, mm-hmm. at the end of each week, we see where they are. And then if they're falling behind, we're just like, okay, what can we do right now to catch this? What some people do is they do a month of something, and at the end of the month they like, okay, well, this has not happened. Like what's happening? If you're doing something, if you're learning how to play guitar, like when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I started doing jiu-jitsu like a year and a half ago. Every week I started thinking about the things I didn't know the week before. And that's how you gotta track it. You gotta go week by week, man.
Yeah, so that's the thing. That's the thing. I think once you figure out that skill and where, there's one thing about acquiring a new skill is figuring out what that skill is gonna do for you in the future. Right. I think if you think about the future plan of what you're doing now, that will also help propel, especially myself. Yeah. Right. I love basketball. We all know this. Like every single day, I wouldn't say I'm the best basketball player, but my goal is to be the best basketball player I can.
There you go.
So what I do is whenever I get on the basketball court, I always try different moves that I've never tried before. Even if I'm not successful at it, at least I gave my well shot at it.
That's right.
Not really caring about any consequences that might be.
Or the criticism. No, you're right, man.
So that's the thing. Like, especially being an educator or anything like that. Most of these kids, they think because they're not at a certain level, they're not the sharpest tool in the shed. At the end of the day, it takes every single individual a different time frame to get to where they need to be. Right?
Yep. So 100%. Like even for me, man, like I'm terrible at math. So I know like if I was to take a course with you, I would definitely need probably more time than the average individual. But what's really cool is that I know that. You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with that though.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But you know, a lot of stuff that I shined with when I was still in school back in the days was everything like a lot of literary arts. I was incredible at like, you know, writing, punctuality, stories. I was good at, you know, writing in general, man, whether it was, you know, fictional or non-fictional. I enjoyed that side a lot. So I remember when I had like algebra, man, I struggled with hard, like really hard, man. Like, and I was pretty much a straight A student outside of math. Very low B's in math. Everything else I aced, man. So
that's right.
I get that, man. I think you do got to put in the work. You gotta just hit it, man. And for me, I think if I was to like say give my one tip, like for me, what helps me learn things fast is, I don't know what it is, man, but like I learned to give something 2 weeks all in. Like I'm talking like I will eat, sleep, and drink something for a minimum of 2 weeks.
Okay, that's excellent.
If I hit it for 2 weeks, and let's just say something that, like, let's say like it was recording.
Yeah.
I want to do everything I can. I'm talking every possible thing to learn that super hard for 2 weeks. And if I don't have an interest in it, I'll just move on.
There you go.
You know what I mean? But that was what I told myself. Because a lot of people are like, oh, I've never been like a 1 year planner. I actually read it in a book, man. It's called The 4 Hour Work Week.
Amazing book.
And that's what, no, was it The 4 Hour Week? One of the 4 hours, man. But that's what he said. He goes, instead of trying to live, you know, year by year, month by month, he was like, I just kept it shorter. I tried a bunch of new things for 2 weeks straight. And then you start to see what your passions are, what you're really good at learning. I think you start to learn a lot by yourself.
That's right.
And since I read that book, man, I've done all kinds of crazy. If you just ask my girlfriend some of the stuff that I would get into, from like audio, video, writing, it doesn't matter, man. She has seen me go through so many 2 week phases.
Yeah.
But man, I can honestly say now at 33, I've learned how to do so much more, and I'm so thankful for it. So that would be like my 2 cents. Like if there was one thing that I could tell somebody, be like, man, this is what I did to learn things super fast. Is I just literally dove in, like no sleep, no nothing. Like but that's my personality, right? So I would be like that A type person. Like you said, there's 4 personalities.
There's 4 kinds of personalities that I've noticed. Like you're analytical. You're very like, I need to read, understand. Like if I think about it as business. If you go into business, analytical people, you can tell them anything you want face to face. They're just like, okay, can you send me more information to read? Okay, a driver is someone more like, you're telling them this and they're gonna make a deal on the spot with you. They're not gonna take back anything and wait. And then there's some people who are like, if you're trying to sell them something, they're very like amiable, for instance, where they like, you're telling them it and they want you to tell them what they need, so then they'll buy it from you, right? So what's the other one? Amiable, expressive people are like storytellers.
That would be me.
Yeah, storyteller kind of people. So if I'm gonna work with someone like you, I'm not gonna go deep down into like literature. You like the storytelling type of thing. Like you like to be expressive. I think you might be an artist, like to paint, or maybe that's like you said, you're more of the arts kind of person. So math wouldn't be your suit. But for you to get you through math, I'd be like, you take this math course, okay? These are the kinds of doors that it opens up for you, right? And you take this math course, it just leads you to your starting level of maybe a $50,000 job when you graduate. You work a $50,000 job, you may like it, you may not like it, but it's gonna be able to fund what you like to do, which is arts, because you still need to make a living.
Definitely.
Right?
100%.
Yeah, man.
That's huge, man. I think kind of to segue into like a new topic, because what's really cool is that, you know, this is your own business.
Yeah.
So how did you run your own business, man? How long you been doing it? You said 9 years, right?
Yeah, 9 years.
So 9 years ago, man, what was the motivation? Like, where were you working? When did you know you're like, yo, man, I'm ready to start this more than 9 to 5 life, man? What was it like?
9 years ago, where was that? 9 years ago, I was probably first or second year university. And I've always been tutoring throughout high school. Like, I'd help my friends and stuff. Never charge anyone. I never really charged anyone until I got to university. So I played at UIT, school in Oshawa or Durham region. And some of the players, for us to play, you had to have athletic eligibility, which means that you need to have a certain GPA. If you're below that and that person played, your whole team gets disqualified for that game.
Yep.
So certain guys are on the cusp of like not hitting the eligibility. So we would take coach buses to our games. We go to Windsor, Ottawa, Sudbury, and on the bus, like, I would see that they're struggling, they're a good player. I'm like, we need you. So I would look at their work, and I took kinesiology, so it's literally all the sciences and math. So I could do pretty much anything, and I would help them out so they would pass. And then, like, one time I helped a guy on the bus. I helped him with his online assignment. We were tethering our phone to do it. He submitted it, and like, he got the highest grade ever. I didn't do the work for him. I'm just like, I was helping him through the problems. And he's just like, wow, this is the highest I've ever gotten. And then, like,
that's amazing.
He was really happy about that. And then the work kind of spread around the bus. So it was like, literally every time we would drive somewhere, it was like a 4-hour drive. I'd be helping everybody. And then one time, one of them wanted help, but it was outside, like, the bus ride. And he's like, can you help me? I'm like, I literally couldn't help him. He's like, man, I'll pay you. I'm like, what? I'm doing it for free anyways. He's just like, no, man, I'll pay you.
Light bulb.
I'm just like, well, I'm not available, but we can do it this day. So I charge. He's like, well, how much do you want? I'm like, just give me $5. I'm not gonna charge you anything. Give me $5. I tried doing it for $5, and then more people wanted, like, on campus, and it was great because I could, in between my classes, I could help people. $10, $15, $20. Got to $30, and people were still wanting to pay me.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I'm just like, so then I'm sitting back, I'm just like, hold on a second. I was working like a part-time construction job with my cousin. I'm thinking, like, I'm making more doing this tutoring part-time. It's just, why am I stressing? So I'm like, you know what? I told my cousin, I'm like, yo, in like a month or so, I can't be doing this with you, because I'm gonna keep doing this. So eventually I got so many students to the point where, like, I had to hire on more people, and it's kind of how it went from there. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's an amazing story, man. Especially the growth from that, you know? That's the premise of why we started this podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the premise is we're not looking to any monetized value as of right now. It's just that what we can do for the community, what we can do to help a community be better.
Yeah.
You know, so even like you said, you were doing that for free.
Yeah. To keep the team, you know what I'm saying?
To keep my team was like, bro, I wanna make it to as far as we can. If we don't have our best center defender, it's like we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose if our goalie isn't there. And we have our third keeper in net, we're gonna lose.
That's the thing, man. Your destiny will always find you, even when you're not looking. You know, sometimes the destiny is right underneath our nose.
Yeah.
You know, so so like I said before, that's the premise of this of this podcast, the Third Dimension podcast. We want to have people take their mental side of their life to the next level, trying to figure out exactly what it can do for them to be better.
Absolutely.
You know, and especially Luke's Tailored Tutoring, also the premise behind that, helping these kids, adults, whoever have any difficulties with a subject or anything like that, what you're doing for them is very special.
Do you guys do all grades? Like
all grades.
Do you guys do university as well?
University, yeah.
Nice, man.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And to be at it for 9 years, that definitely definitely shows that you're doing something good and something right.
Yeah.
You know, and especially have returning clients.
Yeah.
that alone can attest to the greatness.
I appreciate that,
your
man.
business like referral business now?
It's pretty much referral. Like we do advertisements. We don't pay for any of our advertisements. We do Instagram, share on Facebook. We used to do Twitter as well.
Yeah.
And people just they come because it's just like it's something that they're always gonna need.
Always.
Right. So they'll always be there.
That's amazing, man.
Even just to go from that, I remember we met. What was it? I think it was like 2 years ago. I was at the bar, and I was telling about my business ventures. How I want to start working with kids with special needs.
Right.
And then
You're gonna call it Fireplace? It was
Fireplace.
Fireplace. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Name Fireplace. Why?
So I was at Tim Hortons.
Okay.
And I looked to my right, saw a Fireplace. So he messaged me on my phone. He's like, you need to come up with a name. So I was like, Tim Hortons, there's nothing brewing to me. So then I looked to the right of me, I saw a Fireplace. I'm like, oh, what about Fireplace? He's like, all right, let's go with it. But over time, I guess you can say the fire went out.
You know what I mean? That's it's funny. That's like Fireplace.
Yeah,
but now what's the name you ran with?
So as of right now, what I have is the Durrel Foundation.
Yeah.
My last name, Foundation. So it's pretty much helping kids that have special needs. So Menelek here, this guy sent me an entire blueprint on how to start a business. He didn't have to do that. He could have charged. Some people charge thousands for.
That was in the bar. I remember. Yeah, you said the bar. Yeah, I remember that. It was so late at night. I'm just like, what was this? Yeah, I remember it.
I need to see that. We're business partners. We need to see that too, right?
I dive into my email and pull that out. But yeah, he didn't have to do that. He saw that I'm another guy who has business aspirations. He went in his bag to help a brother out.
Yeah.
There need to be more individuals like Menelek trying to help his clients, his friends, and also his family.
Definitely.
Like I said, he did not have to send me that.
No. Dude, people charge for that.
People charge thousands.
Yeah, man.
For business plan.
Definitely.
It's because I don't officially have a business plan. I never really made one, but I can say that I know how to do one because. And what it's really for, what I send Darrell, it's very detailed. It's like 40 pages or so, but it's something you submit when you're gonna go for a loan. Like you need to fill, and I'm gonna tell you, it's very overwhelming, and it can be troublesome.
Oh yeah.
But when you fill this out, when you go to get a loan for someone, like again, those guys or girls or women, I should say, who you're speaking to, you can tell them anything you want.
Yes.
They want a paper.
Yep.
Because once you leave, they're seeing 10 people a day. They can't remember you. They absolutely will not remember you.
That's right.
So when you hand them that paper and you're making their life easier. This is the executive summary. Okay, this is what the cost is. This is what the market analysis is. Okay, this is what we expect to do during our worst times. How are you going to pay me back when you're in the worst of times? Like right now, when the market's completely crashed, those people who accepted the loans for the businesses, and they're going back now through these portfolios, they're going through yours. Okay, how is Darrell gonna make sure that, oh yeah, this is what he said. Okay, close that. He's good.
Yeah.
We're gonna make our money. That's what this plan is for, right? So when you go, then you hand it in, they're gonna most likely accept any loan that you ask for.
That's amazing.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, for sure. And also too, because I definitely want to get into your business chops, man. And for the world out there, you guys listening and watching, obviously before we start recording, we're chopping it up a bit. And for the world, this is the first time I've met you, so it's like, yeah, man, it's actually really cool. So of course, the whole time with you and Darrell talking, me and you talking before Darrell got here, I'm definitely just learning, I'm gathering, man. And you mentioned something before we started recording. You said, I never will do one thing. Basically saying, like, I will never only count on one stream of income.
Right.
Dive into that, man. What's your mentality behind that?
Okay, so this isn't about like anything to do with money or greed. This is about pure survival. If you had to think about, I read a book called Germs, Guns, and Steel by Jared Diamond. It's about the evolution of man from 7 million years ago when they think we came about till today. And the only way you can survive is if you had multiple different resources. So if you were the real word
Right now.
if you were foraging, okay, there's hunter-gatherers that would forage. Hunter-gatherers would hunt, kill animals, and then gather like fruits and stuff, but they would always follow the animals. The reason why that became abolished because it became easier to accumulate all the resources at once. Farming.
Yes.
So when you, as a farmer, you got to think about, what do farmers do? Well, you need to have your wheat, you have your meat, and you have your water. Pretty much is what they would eat. Now, at any point in time, if your cattle got sick and they all would die, what would you rely on? You had your wheat and you had your water. During the Great Depression in 1930, when the farmers had all their wheat and their grass like completely destroyed by like grasshoppers, what did they have? They had their cows, their meat, and then they had their water. So for me, you got to think about we're not farmers anymore, right? But our source of income isn't meat and wheat. It's about the different kinds of jobs we have. Those jobs are different industries. So you look at right now when the markets crash, which industries are doing well, right? You look at the cleaning industries where you have your Lysols, you have your Lysol wipes, the toilet paper industry, which is going up as well. But if you put all your money in tourism and travel, you're pretty much screwed right now.
Right now, you're
very screwed. Yeah. So now I sit back and I say, okay, that's just a stock market. Now what do you, when you put money in the stock market, it doesn't take time. You put your stocks there, you check it from so on and so forth. But what are you doing outside of that? Now you got to think about what takes up your actual physical time. Now, if you do your 9 to 5, that's good. But you also want to do another source of income. Remove stocks now. You work your 9 to 5. What other source of income that takes your time do you have to do? So what I truly believe in is having a part-time hours, but trying to generate full-time income. Right? And
I love that.
The way my business is set up is I have educators that work with me, where we have all these students come in. Based on my educators' profiles, we do assessment with the students. We match them up with the educator. The educator reads their profile. They're just like yes or no. If they say no, you go to the next viable educator that you think would work. Now, the educator gives them power because now they can choose how many students they want to fill in their free time. So then when they fill in their free time, they can also now have another source of income, or they can make this tutoring their main source of income. So some of the educators, they work like 20 hours a week with us, and some of them only do 2 hours a week. So the reason why I said never put all your time into everything, if your like business generates more income than your full-time job, don't leave your full-time job to work on your business if you could still run it on part-time hours.
That's right.
Because now what if that business was touring and travel and it completely got wiped out? Well, now you have nothing. And I'm not saying it because not saying that because you're not going to believe in your business. You're going to believe in it 100%. But like no one could have seen this coming. And a year ago, you wouldn't have seen this coming. So if your business is completely dependent on the volume of people coming in,
you gotta make sure you have that safety net.
You have nothing. But what if your job was like online? You're doing website designing. That's still going to keep going. So you need to have different and that's the reason why. It goes back to that hunter-gatherer state of mind, and that's how literally mankind made it till today, right? If those who literally depend on one thing, you got to remember that one thing will not be there forever.
Man, that's amazing. Man. It's really dope, because this is why I love meeting new people, especially people like yourself that are entrepreneurs, man, because I find a lot of people that I meet, they break things down differently and I'm able to learn. You know what I mean? Because like I have a bit of a similar mentality on things, but I would have never said it that way.
Yeah, for sure. That's the thing. Sometimes we think we have no free time. You know, so I think that's one of the things that would always hold us back, because we think we have no free time. We think because we work a 9 to 5, we don't have no time to really figure out what we want to do part-time to propel us to that next level. You know, but that's the thing about life, man. Once you figure out what you really want and start working towards that goal, you start figuring out you don't really need that full time.
That's right.
Once you figure out that you can do something part time, still make that full time income as a business owner, then you can start enjoying the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, man. Definitely, man, for sure. Which I think would lead to another great thing I think we can help our listeners with, man. Because obviously, now that you have your 9 to 5. So obviously that comes with its own set of tax laws. You also own your business. If you was to give, not advice, man, but like just the tax implications alone, like how awesome is it having that extra thing, especially for your taxes, man?
Yeah, so the things I write off for my taxes have to do predominantly with the business, so it lowers your income. There's pros and cons to it. Like if you're gonna go now and say you're gonna purchase a house, if you write off a lot of your taxes, your income is lower. So when someone goes to check, okay, what was your average income the last 5 years, and people who write off an obscene amount on their taxes, it's just like, well, you really don't have any income.
That's right.
Right, and you could tell them, oh no, you know what? I actually do have a lot of income, but I write a lot of my taxes off. They're gonna look at the paper and be like, well, this is not what the paper says, right? So, like, if you, let's just say you have everything, you have your house. If you're in a position where you have your house, you have everything, you want to write as much tax as you can so you can claim some back. It's great to have a business for that. You can write off gas, travel expense, entertainment, eating, a lot of stuff you can write off. Definitely. Right? But you have to understand, if you don't have certain things, like you want to get a house and you start writing a whole bunch of stuff off, you have to understand when you go to your mortgage agent, or if you're going to go to a private lender, your income is really not reflective of what it should be. It's going to be a lot lower.
But that's the beauty, right? You want it lower on paper. You know what I mean? Because the higher it is, especially as an employee, because I've had like really, really good paychecks as an employee, and then it's gone, man.
During tax time. But like, again, if you want to get that big purchase, you want to buy that house, they're going off of what is your income, and that's how you qualify for a mortgage. And if you write off a whole bunch of stuff on your taxes, your income is almost like barely anything. So you're not going to qualify for a home. There's the pro and cons. So if you have your house already, you own a house, you write off as much as you can. But I'm not going to sit here and say if you don't have a house, don't write off as much as you can, but you have to be prepared to have a bigger down payment. You got to have a bigger.
So that's the thing most people don't understand, because I never knew that.
I know, man, that's huge.
Because I've always heard, especially as us we're starting our own business or starting our own media company here, we've been told as a business owner you can write off anything at any time when it's necessary. But that tip, right, that's a major tip. You know, so
I should also jump in. It also depends on the type of business. So if you have a sole proprietorship, that your sole proprietorship, the legal name of the company is your first, middle, and last name.
That's right.
So when you write off things there, like if you have your sole proprietor company and you're working somewhere else, if you write off things on your expenses, it's literally your personal income. If you have a corporation, that's separate entity from yourself. So if you are starting a business and it's a corporation, write off as much as you can, because it will not affect your personal income. That's where I wanted to clarify. I should clarify that as well.
Because that was what I was getting at, man. Because I think that's a great tip. Because you're right. Like this, like for the world out there, like this is my, like I rent this apartment, right? So I want to buy a home, but you're right, man. On paper, for me to go, like obviously I'll have my down payment, right? But on paper, when the bank is looking at my income, that number does need to be higher right now.
It would need to be. At this
point in my life, on paper, I need to show a strong income so I can qualify for the loan.
But you get taxed more, so that's you got to figure out how much. It's like it's a numbers game.
I love what you said though, man. You said if you already have a home or whatever, then you start writing everything off. You know what I mean? But what's really cool, and obviously correct me if I'm wrong, you know better because I've never started my own corporation. But let's say we do incorporate, right? But you said our corporation is separate.
It's a separate entity.
We can always essentially put ourselves as employees, and let's just say we made $100,000. Us as people like Tony and Daryl made $100,000 under, let's just say, Third Dimension Studios. That would still would that solve that problem?
That would your company would be taxed.
The company would be taxed, but let's say for me, like because I want to go buy a home, I'm not going to buy a home in Third Dimension Studios name. No, it's going to be under my own name.
So then it won't it wouldn't affect your personal income tax. So that's where it's separate. It's good to have a corporation. Like I would say, if once you start making more than $30,000 a year, incorporate your company.
Definitely.
And for multiple reasons, because if you get sued and they sue your company, it's your company.
It won't affect you.
It's not going to affect a personal lawsuit. So they can't come after your house. They will come after any assets under Third Dimension. So, and then once you're corporations get taxed less. I think it's like 32% or like max, whereas sole proprietorship can be 35 to like 40%.
Wow. Oh, definitely.
It could be, but corporations, your taxes cost more, but I think your taxes is probably $120, whereas the sole proprietorship is like $60. But if you're okay with the $60 difference, which you should be okay with, you might as well incorporate. There's so much more tax benefits of having a corporation.
Definitely, man. I was looking into it the other day, remember?
Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing about having a corporation, man. You just pretty much just saves you on the back end.
Yes.
It saves you on the back end. Yeah, absolutely.
Than a sole proprietorship. But at the end of the day, the best way to start off as a sole proprietor and then gradually work your way up to incorporating yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And the kind of business you have too. So
definitely.
It also makes a big difference.
Definitely, man. Sure. That's amazing, dude. So just kind of like on the fly, man, because I like the way you think. And I love that, you know, you kind of went back hunter-gatherer time, man.
Yeah.
Like that was dope because that was so right. So let's just say you were going to add another stream of income. What would you jump into? Because obviously you have, you know, your 9 to 5, we said you're in the tech industry, right?
Yeah.
The medical tech industry, correct?
Medical tech, yeah.
There we go. And then obviously you have Luke's Tailored
Tutoring,
like, which is an amazing name, LTT.
Yeah.
By the way, for the camera, you know. Yeah. So if you were to add another one, man, what would you jump into? Like, what's an industry you really like?
I like industries where you don't physically have to be there. So like consultant, I would like to do.
So would you do the same thing? Hire consultants, the
exact same thing. Web design, and I like doing industries where you can reach the most amount of people possible. So like, I'm gonna give you an example. Construction is a great industry to do, but construction, it's so much liability. There's so much storage of assets you need to have. Food industry, just again, I like food, but I wouldn't run a food company because there's so much assets you have, and those the assets that you have, they go bad, they expire. So I wouldn't even go in the food industry. It's too much stress for that. So I said, you know, let's go more towards the tech industry. Technology doesn't physically expire. Like, yeah, like these microphones will be here for the next 50 years.
That's right.
So the tech industry is kind of where I want to go. Production, videography, photography, and there's millions of people there, but there's still millions of people that need it every day.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter if you're the millionth and one person to do it. There are people who are starting every day, and there's people who are giving up every day. So it's a cycle, but you just always want to be at the top. So
fuck, that was amazing.
So you think about that too. So at the end of the day, those are the industries you kind of want to go into. I've done the hard labor stuff. Hard labor stuff is great.
Me too, man.
I'm not the biggest fan of it because I know how hard it is. But at the same time, if I had to do it again, I'm not gonna whine about it. I would do it, and I respect everyone that does that kind of work.
Of course.
But it just requires your time, and that's
your body, and that could expire eventually.
Exactly. Like so, and that's why
something go out, right?
And that's why I try to mitigate the amount of time I put into something. Right. So when I do online tutoring, the way we set it up is if you want me to help or you want one of our tutors to help, this is the rate. If you want to pay for a recording we've done before, it's much lower, and you keep the recording as long as you want.
Nice, man.
Right. So but if you require our time, it's going to cost more. So
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
It's amazing, bro.
That's really cool, man. This has been amazing. Enlightening, eh, bro?
Very enlightening. Man. Right now, I'm learning so much.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm at a tutoring session.
Seriously, though, for free, pro bono.
Yeah, we do it, man. We do this.
That's awesome, man. So I was like, and because, I mean, obviously, man, like, I love business, man. I've had my fair share of, like, business ventures and stuff like that. But obviously, you, as the owner of the company, obviously you can't tutor all the students, so you hire tutors, man. Do you have like a screening process? Like, like what's that look like, man? What's it like? Let's just say, for example, like, dude, hire me and Durrel to teach. Let's just say
I can go over so many scenarios like that. Our screening process is it's intensive. We do. I can just start. So we do we send out posting. People apply.
Yeah.
Okay. Number one thing I look at is if we're hiring Whippy and you're applying from Scarborough, it's probably not going to work out.
Yeah, for sure.
It's just the logistics don't work. But we have postings in Scarborough, or we used to. So area, I look at your and then I look strictly at your experience. Have you tutored before, or have you not tutored before? That's going to determine your pay range. If you have no experience, I would give you the chance for a phone call just to hear your kind of energy, your potential.
Yeah, I like that.
Then I look at your education. If you're going to start tutoring in math and you put all these subjects, but you don't have any of that educational experience, then you're just not qualified for it. If I wouldn't send you to work with my nephew or my cousins, I wouldn't send you with anybody else. So that's the first part. Reply to them back, are you good for this phone interview? Go through the phone interview. During the phone interview, I'm really thinking about your tone in the interview, how you're answering my questions, because at the end of the day, you're answering questions of the demanding parents. They don't care. At the end of the day, the parents don't care what the money is. They care is, are you going to waste my time? Are you going to be able to help my child? Okay, they don't care about the money. So if I'm asking you a critical thinking question and you're not answering it in a way that I like it, the way I would answer, or even better, you're not going to make it through. Then if they make it through to that, that's great. Now I need your paperwork, your police check, your references, and I can tell when someone sends me a fake reference. So I'll call them, I'll ask them a question about them, and then I do a lot of extensive research on the applicants. Like I'll go to their Facebook, their Instagram if they have it. I see the kind of person that they are. If you're the type of person that you're going to be working with kids, but I see you doing illegal stuff on your Instagram, this is not going to work out, right? Because things like you're going to revert back to your normal self at some point in time. So I go through everything. So I go through that screening process. Sometimes I have third-party companies that will do that screening process as well. As long as your page is open and it's public, I'm gonna go through it. I'll find it.
100%.
So we go through that stuff. Then I meet them in person. I look at the way they're dressed, the way they carry themselves, their body language. And when I talk to them in person, it's not really the most friendly interaction. It's pretty rough, pretty abrasive. Like I'll be like, I don't think you're good for this job. Straight up, they'll give me the best answer, and I'm like, I don't think you're good with this job.
So you kind of play like a devil's advocate.
Yeah. So I'm like
you on purpose.
Yeah, I'll bring them into the interview, and I'm just like, they think they're having. I'm like, I don't think you're gonna be good enough for this job. I don't think I would.
Are you doing that? So now they have their chops?
I want to see what they're like under pressure, because you gotta understand. You gotta understand. You have a brother, right? You have two brothers.
I have two brothers.
You have two brothers. If someone comes into your place and they're gonna work with your brother, and you've known your brother your whole life, you're gonna press that person a bit. You're like maybe not verbally, but the eyes are on. It's a lot of pressure. You're taking a kid or even an adult, and you're saying come into my hands. I'm gonna take your future in my hands and get you where you gotta get to.
You want to see how they're gonna.
How you're gonna react to that. It's a lot of pressure. You're basically taking this person's hand and you're guiding them. So when I say stuff like that, sometimes their face gets red. I've had one person puke one time in an interview. It's crazy, and I'm just like, listen, this pressure is immense. You need to understand like what you're getting yourself into.
That's right.
Right. This is not like a day job. So we go through that, and if you make it through that stage, you're on board.
Pretty much.
Most of it. That's what I kind of go through. Like literally, the first thing is I don't think you're good enough for this job. To be honest, here's the other companies you can apply to, and that's kind of how I do it. And you should see some of their faces. Their faces drop. Yeah. But I'm preparing you, because you're gonna get people like that. You're gonna get protective parents.
Yes.
Right. I'm doing a favor. Like you're gonna get these people.
What's dude, that's amazing, man. Like I love it. So what is, like, I guess just off top memory, and if you have one, cool, but what's like one of the craziest answers you ever heard to that question? Like responses, sorry.
Well, I've heard people rebuttal it. They're like, well, why did you think that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, you look kind of nervous. Right? And some people are just like, no, I'm cut out for this job. Or this one lady just like, okay, and she got up and she literally walked away.
So that's
for sure, man. Especially
that's a go. And I'm not trying to make them feel bad, but I'd rather you get up and say, this is not for me.
Especially you're going to see their anxiety level at that situation.
I want to see your heart rate drop. I want to see how well you can control this.
Yeah.
Because like personally, I'm not a parent, but if you sit down with someone and they're protected over their kid and they're looking at you like this and it's like, have you done this before? The way you react is either you're gonna gain their respect or you're not gonna gain it.
Yeah, for sure.
And people are like, some people are like, well, it's not that serious. I'm like, it is, man. Because you got to think, like, you have a dog, right?
That's a red flag for you too. If somebody was to say that, it's not. Yeah,
no, like my friends may say that.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
I thought you meant like a Canada.
No, my Canada won't say that. But
yeah, you lost the job.
You have your dog, right? Yeah. Okay, you go on vacation, and you're gonna bring your dog to someone. And they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there for 7 days.
Yes.
You're gonna press them.
Definitely.
You're not gonna be like, oh, I found you on Kijiji. Take my dog. It, like, when you're on vacation, you don't want to have to think about, is my dog. You're gonna be thinking about your dog, but not the well-being. Is my dog okay?
Yes.
If you're constantly calling, and that then takes work off of me because for the amount of educators I have, I don't want parents constantly calling me or calling my the people who I work with and being like, yo, I think there's something off with this person. Yeah. I need to make sure that when you're in there, you're completely autonomous.
That's a reflection of you.
Exactly. So we need to make sure that barrier is cut down very quickly.
Dude, that shit was gold, man.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, man.
That is so cool, man. That dude, like I'm kind of speechless, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're going back to that, especially.
That was amazing.
Especially at the anxiety level of the people that you're hiring on. At that moment, you really get to test. You pretty much get to attest to how they react in different situations.
Yeah.
You know, so it's amazing that you do that, because at the end of the day, most people don't really realize how, in terms of how they will react in different situations. They probably didn't expect that interview session, that question right there will present itself.
Yeah. They don't expect that intensity, but I don't ever expect them to get to that level of intensity with someone. But then I'll know in the worst case scenario, you know what to do.
Yeah, definitely. Especially with these kids too. Sometimes they might ask a question that might put you on the edge.
Yeah.
So how are you gonna react in that situation when they ask you a question that you might not have the answer to?
Yeah.
You know, so
I've seen some teachers where I've experienced going through school and they don't have the best people skills. You guys know you always know there's that one kid in the class that causes trouble, and the way that the teachers get mad, they slam their book or they close the door, they start shouting at the student, and you got to really think that you are in control of your emotions at all times, and you're making an 8-year-old do that. You got to think that you're telling this 8-year-old to behave, but yet you're behaving like someone.
You're behaving like an 8-year-old.
Like an 8-year-old, right? And I'm not going to sit down here and say that everyone is perfect, but you got to think that I can't have that. If you're working with an 8-year-old and they're not listening to you, and you're in their home and you're yelling, you're slamming books, that is not acceptable. So if I can't feel comfortable with you handling a disrespectful adult or a pressing adult like me in that interview, there's no way you're gonna handle an 8-year-old.
For sure.
That's amazing.
I don't care what kind of teaching school or college you went to, you're not fit to work here.
Yeah. So one question I have for you, especially as an educator. So what main trait would you say it takes to be a leader, especially leading kids and all that? You
always got to be open and listening to everything. I listen to kids. I listen to anyone who's younger than me, because if they're saying something that I don't understand, I'm going to listen to see if I can make sense of it. To be a great leader, you can't just become a leader today and then 10 years pass and you're not consistently learning. For you, most times when you're a leader, you're usually like the older one in your group of people, but you also have to learn the new things that are coming. Definitely. Because if you're going to be a leader, you got to be a leader for everyone. So if you're going to be a good leader, you have to, I think it's always said, you got to be a good follower. You got to be able to listen to those who are not in as high as a power that you're in. So what I mean by that is a lot of people will look up to you, and the some people that look up to you, you still have to learn from them. Because if you're at this top, you're at the top of everything. The only way to be that leader still at the top is that you have to now learn from below. Definitely, you have to learn. Like we were talking in the last episode, right? Most of these professional athletes, they look elsewhere to get motivation, right? So like we were saying, most of the professional athletes, they get some of the moves like Kyrie Irving. Yeah, right? Some of the moves that he's doing in the NBA right now, those moves have always been done in the street ball level, and you see guys doing those moves years before Kyrie Irving came into the league, right? So his inspiration was from the street, right? Then he came to the NBA as a professional and became an 4 or 5 time All-Star, or whatever the number is that you always have to learn from the people ahead and also from the people behind you, and then that's what will bring you to the top of the podium as a successful leader, entrepreneur, business owner, whatever it may be. Yeah, man. That's that essentially that humility. I agree. You got to have that humility, like you said. I think to being a great follower to me is that's a humble thing to do. And yeah, man, that's for me. I've always prided myself, like when I've had other business ventures, and I had say somebody I was looking up to. Like I actually took pride in being coachable. You know what I mean? Like, that's right. That's very key. Yeah, man. Like I was okay with the criticism. I was okay with if they're telling me, and obviously this is someone that I look up to and I respect, and I'm like, yes, like what they tell me, I'm gonna run with it. Yeah, man. Being coachable and having that humility, and I think that's what helped propel me to being a good leader in some of the roles that I was in, right? Sure. So no, that's amazing, man. Like we're where we at? So we're pushing about an hour, for sure. So we'll get close to wrapping it up. So with that in mind, man, because obviously we wanted to talk about obviously Toronto's like what's happening right now. For our audience, Toronto
because we're having a lot of strikes lately.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it, man? Like, as far as, do you think the strikes are for a good reason, and also to
the pros and cons?
What are the pros and cons? But like, if you could put your, like, if the Toronto School Board called you and said, hey man, help us be better, what would you change about it?
And also, a part beyond that question, and also they're pretty much moving towards online education. Yeah. And also, how do you think that would affect the students moving forward? Yeah.
Well, so the first part is what we could change is we got to see what are the reasons why a lot of the teachers or even just public servants are not happy, and it's because a lot of their educational systems are being cut. There's projected classroom sizes that are going up, and they don't feel that the person in charge right now understands what they're going through, because the person that's in charge they went to private school, but he's making decisions for a public sector. So what things can be done? So you got to think about pay. If they want a pay increase, you got to think about if there's going to be a pay increase, what additional tasks do they need to do? Okay. That's kind of how negotiation works. If I'm going to give you a pay increase, what more do you have to do? Why do you deserve this pay increase, right? So the other part is the increase of classroom sizes is not because there's more students coming in. They're saying, well, for us to even give you like a pay increase, we got to cut some of the teachers because there's just no way that this education sector is worth what it's bringing in. So it's a business is what the government really is. So they're saying, if I'm going to increase your pay, what is your return that you're bringing us? So that's really what it comes down to. So if you're going to be negotiating, I think the teachers are doing this right. They're doing strikes to show, hey, look, if we're not here, this is the disruption that happens.
Yes.
This is what happens, right? So we're not here. There's no school. Parents have to stay home.
Yes.
Okay. If parents have to stay home, then they have to get pulled out. So they're doing the right thing to show. They're just showing, hey, look, if we don't go now you got to pay even more money.
Yes.
Because now when these parents have to take sick leaves and stuff, depends on if the parents work for a private corporation, they're gonna have to be taking a lot of sick leave. The private corporations are covering for that. If the private corporations are cover so much, they have insurances companies, because then the private corporations are filing insurance claim to cover this. If those same parents work for the public sector, well, now they have to stay home. The government has to still pay them for sick, and now pay someone else if they're gonna be gone for an extended period of time. Now, like after March break, there's 2 weeks of no school.
Yes, that's right.
And I don't think it's because of the strike. I think it's because to do with the virus. But let's just say if it was because of the strike. Regardless, those parents now have to stay home. Who's going to cover that? Right? You can't have that worker not there for 2 weeks. One day, maybe you can get away with it. For 2 weeks now, the government has to fund that. So now the teachers have some weight to say, if we continue to have strikes, you're actually going to have to pay more.
Yes.
So you might as well pay us what we think we're worth, or what we know we're worth, and call it a day.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's
think
where
teachers are underpaid, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Big time, especially in the States where I'm from. Man, I think I think a lot of public servants are underpaid. I think police officers, I think teachers at public schools. I don't understand why these wages aren't more competitive, man.
Well,
especially for the public service.
There's a few reasons why. Like if you look at places like France, where their tax rate is very high, much higher than Canada, but then they don't have to pay for a lot of things, like when they go to the doctors and like dental work and all that stuff, they don't pay for. But now the new person that's come in is starting to cut these things out, where now to lower the tax rate, you pay for stuff out of pocket. Because it's like he's saying like the government can't keep funding this, right? So when you have public service like police officers who should be the number one paid, firefighters should be number one paid, you're directly training to go into danger. You should be number one paid. Well, how you think about now the business structure? How are they funded? They're funded through taxpayers.
Taxation. Yeah.
So how do we pay them more? We pay more taxes. Oh, I don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, you don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, you don't want to pay more taxes. Okay, well, what else can we do? Well, maybe we can ask for help from private corporations. Private corporations are not eligible to pay more than what their taxes are. So let's raise the taxes in private corporations. You raise the taxes in private corporations, that also means now they're going to lay people off to pay these taxes.
Or they're going to go to other countries.
Or they'll go to other countries. So now you're in this loop. So as much as we say we want to pay them more, as the average like Canadian civilian who pays taxes, you now have to pay more taxes. If you want to advocate,
you can't afford to pay more taxes. So
then what people, what people start to do is that they look at the government and then they'll say, okay, well, we don't want to pay more taxes and you don't want to pay them more. What is the government now doing with their money? Now they start to watch things like, what is the government doing with their money? Oh, they put $100 million, or was it $10 million, or whatever the amount was, into like horse racing. Well, why did you spend that money there? Okay, oh, what? I don't like these pipelines. How much is it going to cost? Do we need this stuff? So once they realize now that the government can't pay them more unless they tax more, we start looking at the way they spend their money. And I think that's probably the best way to do it, is for the people to police the government and say, how much are you spending? Where are you spending it? Now, whoever now gets into power knows that if the money, let's just say the money isn't being spent correctly, the new person that comes in will have to spend it correctly, or else they're going to get pressure from the people, and to make it most efficient as possible. But let's just say 100% the government is spending the money it should be, and they're 100% efficient. Well, the only way to pay the public workers more is to put on higher taxes. Wow, that's the only way. So that's kind of the loop that they're in. I'm not gonna say here and say 100% they don't want to pay the public workers more money, but they're going to be also say, if you want lower taxes, we cannot pay them higher.
For sure.
That's crazy.
If everything is 100% efficient, but that's the only thing now we can attack, is the efficiency of how they're spending their money.
Right.
And also it will start, let's say the teachers get the raise, then the other public workers, they also think that they're also deserving of raises.
It's not just teachers that are going on strike. It's literally like the majority of the public sector are going on strike. Wow. Not just teachers. Wow. There's custodial staff. The first strike that people didn't realize that happened, I believe, in September, wasn't even teachers. It was the custodial staff.
Wow, I didn't know that.
It wasn't teachers.
Why isn't anyone really talking about that? Is it because they're not as important as these teachers?
Just not as many as the teachers. It comes down to a numbers thing.
True.
So when you saw that, if you were ever watching like these videos on Instagram and kids are like throwing stuff in the garbage and the schools are dirty, that's because the custodial staff went on strike. They still ran the schools. The schools became so unsanitary that they couldn't run the schools anymore.
Wow. Man,
that's what happened.
Even some of the schools, man, like the custodial staff, they deserve more than actually getting paid, because we all know kids are messy as hell. And these guys, they're always getting disrespected. So they need to get paid. I won't say as much as the teachers, but they should get paid more for what they're doing, keeping schools safe, clean, especially with this virus and everything that's going around. The school themselves need to be a very healthy place for these kids to be in.
Yeah,
I agree.
100%, man. That's dude. The way you broke that down, man, was so enlightening, man. Because you're right. It's a constant battle, man, between. Yeah, we want to pay them more, but it is a tug of war, a constant tug of war between the public and the private sector. Obviously, private sector, we have to pay taxes, but he's right. I don't want to pay more taxes. But then obviously, me living in Canada now compared to Texas is way lower taxation. But the other side of it is the beauty, why you don't hear me complaining too much about it, which don't get me wrong, I think we do pay a lot of taxes here. But also the fact that I don't have to worry about healthcare, man.
Exactly.
I'm okay with that.
You gotta pick and choose with what you want.
Yeah, man.
That's what happens.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And then, man, to kind of piggyback on that. So, our other, questions, we had a B and a C part. So let's just say you could put your 2 cents on the educational system. Let's just say from high school. That way, we'll dial in. If you could change something about the high schoolers, what is it called? Their curriculum?
Curriculum, yeah.
What would you do different? Or what I'm saying, what stamp would you put on it if you had that power?
I would for sure introduce how to do taxes, how to do home maintenance, how to be an adult, how to be independent. What is leasing? What is financing? When you're gonna do a car, what's the difference between the two? How do you know which mortgage rate is better than the others? I'd also show them how to plan days out. So for me, I think this is a part that it's really hard to teach, is how to do time management correctly. So what I do is every 24 hours for me, I break that actually down to 2 days. Every 12 hours a day for me. So that makes sure that I get stuff done on time. So if a teacher told me an assignment's due in 4 days from now, for me, that's like 8 days, because I can, every 12 hours is a day that passed. So sometimes at 12 a.m. I'll send an email to someone, noon comes, and at 6 p.m. and I check, I'm like, how come they didn't send me back an email yet? I'm like, okay, well, in real time, it hasn't been a full day yet. But in my time, if you sent me an email by 12 a.m., by 6 the latest, I'm getting back to you. That's just kind of how I break it down. So one thing I would do is how to teach time management. So you're giving these students all this work to do, but not really showing them like in order how to do it. If you got math tests on Monday and a science test on Friday, you have students studying for the science test first. Okay, that's like the first thing of what you can do. Another thing you can do is figure out what they want to do aside from school. School is a blanket, and I think the government's doing it very well, where they're teaching all the kids the same thing to put them on an equal playing field. Okay, some of these subjects don't resonate with students. All the subjects resonate with all the students. What the school can do is give the students resources, even like free YouTube videos, to figure out what they want to do. Now, mind you, that's what the 40 hours are for. I don't know if you know about that, but we have 40 hours of community service.
Yeah, I learned about it.
And that's what it's for. It's to figure out what you want to do. And within 40 hours, over the 4 years you have to complete them, you're supposed to dibble and dabble into different industries, to volunteer, to be like, do I like firefighting? You go there, I think it's cool, and you go there and you realize you're on the scene and you've seen the first dead body. I don't like dead bodies. No, I don't think I should be doing that.
Right.
Let's turn. Should I go to finance? And you realize you got to sit at a desk for 9 hours a day. I don't like that. Travel and tourism, and you realize you're not home often. I don't like that as much. So within 30 hours, you can figure out what you kind of want.
Or at least what you don't want.
What you don't want. And I think,
like, worst case, right?
Yeah, and I think what the school system does, what they can do better, is they're kind of telling you to do these 40 hours, but I think, and if they're not doing it, they should give different like places to do it instead of you going out to find it yourself.
Even myself, when I was doing my 40 hours, I just went to one place. So I remember when I was doing my 40 hours of community service, I went to my elementary school. So my elementary school teacher, he was a grade 2 math teacher. So I pretty much stayed with him, helped him grade some of these kids' tests, and also after school, he was a basketball coach. So after that, after he finished grading his tests, we went to basketball court and pretty much did that. Right. But if we were instructed properly on how to really use these hours effectively, I think most kids will be on a better path. Right?
And the way school works is you don't know what you want to do. Like so instance, they're telling you got to do these subjects. This is your schedule to do these subjects. You're never in control of your schedule at any point in time. It's already made for you.
Right.
When you get to university, the biggest trouble I had was I had to do math, but then you can do 3 different times throughout the day. I'm just like, well, what time do I choose? I can do it in the morning, evening, or afternoon. But you're never given the flexibility to choose what you want to do during life. So by the time you get to 18, your teacher or the education system has already told you what to do. This is your schedule. So when you get to 18, you don't know what you want to do. You don't know how to do what you want to do because you've been told your whole time. So if that 40 hours that comes back in is, you know what, here are 3 companies you can choose. You can start here to figure out what you want to do and when you want to do it. Give them that starting point. But if you tell them, here's your semester, here are your classes, you chose math, your math is second semester, your English is first semester, come to this class at this time, we're making it that much easier for you. But you're also inhibiting them at the same time. Because when they get to 18, they don't know what they want to do. They kind of go to university maybe for what their parents did, or they go to college maybe for what their uncle did.
And they're not ready for that structure.
And they're not ready. And that's why you see a lot of people go to college and university twice. Because the first time is what someone else wanted to do, and the second time is this is what I wanted to do.
Wow.
Yeah, you'll get that a lot.
Wow, that's amazing, man.
That was powerful, man. Because I started thinking about like my school experience. They're like, yeah, seriously though, man. Like I wish I would have had more resources and more opportunities to try different industries. Dude,
definitely.
Yeah, man. Like,
because even myself, do my community hours, because I would have done it differently if I knew, if I had this information now. If I was able to dive into different sectors, different business sectors.
I personally did 200 hours. I did 40, but I'm just like, after the 40 hours, I didn't find what I wanted to do. So I'm just like, I have so much free time. I just went and I started like helping out, being like assistants to so many different industries. And then some of them just stuck with me. Tech was the biggest one I liked. I was like, yo, I like this a lot. I like this one.
Even with that being said, you were able to brew a business.
That's right.
Out of your part-time job per se.
Norway, and you're in grade 9, you do 4 different trades. You do carpentry, plumbing, electrical, construction, and masonry, which is construction. You do every semester is a different trade. Every half a semester a different trade. So you do 4 trades in the course of grade 9. After grade 9, you choose which trade you want to do, and in grade 10 they're teaching you. Grade 11 and 12 I think it's called college. So by the time you graduate university, you have the basic tradesman knowledge.
Wow.
By the time you graduate high school, you have the basic tradesman knowledge, which then you can go to university or college. I believe that's the way they do it in Norway. So like at the end of the day, even if you don't want to be a carpenter but you went to high school for that, you can actually work for someone with that. Whereas you're gonna go to high school and do math, and at the end of high school you really can't work in a career. You can't work in a profession.
100%. I mean, even too, like for home ownership, like, dude, I wish I knew how to do carpentry, certain things, because like even for your own home ownership, to be able to learn how to do your own stuff, man, like it would save you so much money. It would help, for me, at least in my adult life, it'll help me own a home a lot faster.
My dad's a mechanic. He forced me to sit down with him. I hated mechanic work, but he's like, I'm working on the car, I want you to sit down here. I sit on my skateboard going back and forth watching it. I'm like, what are you doing? Doing an oil change. You know how many times I had a 99 Saturn in 2011. You know how many times that car left me at the side of the road? Bro, I'm at the side of the road, I'm jacking up the car, I'm looking at it, I'm just like, okay, the fluid's out. So then I look down the street, there's a Canadian Tire, run and get the fluid, bring it back. Car's at the side of the road, jacked up. I'm like, please don't tow my car, please don't tow my car. Get it back, pour it in. And these are the times because I learned from my dad, or how to like do like basic plumbing. We can't do electrical work anymore, but I know like the basics. I like jack of all trades. That's basically what you want to be in high school, right?
No, that's amazing.
You can only get that from volunteering.
For sure.
Like a guy like myself, I don't know anything about cars, so even the basic oil change I can't even do. So
man, we could always learn that.
That's what I'm saying right now. Especially this conversation that we had today, man, it just really resonated with me. I want to learn something. I want to learn a new skill. So my next skill I'm going to learn is to be a little bit more knowledgeable about working on cars. That's it. Because you never know when the next day might be that your car might be stuck on the side of the road.
That's right.
I learn one new skill every month. I train myself. So I did jiu-jitsu, but that's been long term now. I did Muay Thai, that's been long term. I learned how to do drawings. I wrote in 2 books. I've made 2 books already. So every month I learn a new skill, and not to use it long term. It's just to know that I have the basic knowledge of it.
Sure.
And that's pretty much what it is. I've done video editing, audio editing before. So then that way I can speak on so many topics.
That's amazing, because there's a book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Outliers. So the basic premise of that book, it was saying to acquire a new skill takes approximately 10,000 hours. To get perfect at that. To be perfect at it. To pretty much to be professional.
Professional at it.
10,000 hours.
10,000, 100%.
Yeah, that's what makes sense, man. Because some of the greatest composers, stuff like that. If you probably look back, they probably have that plus. Right?
Plus hours. Come on.
Definitely, man.
When you're playing basketball, okay. The one thing you'll notice, if you compare like a human to a cat, I know we compare a human to a sloth. We think sloths are moving slow, but in a mind, that sloth is moving at its fastest pace. Or if you see a baby crawling and you see them smiling because they're crawling really quickly, and in your mind, like, that thing is moving so slow, but that baby's like, I'm moving fast. But that's the same way a cat feels like that to us. It's like, why is that human? We're rushing around getting ready, and it's looking at us like, why is he moving so slow? Because cats can run at extreme speeds, right? They process things. Their 1 second, our 1 second is like 3 seconds to them. They can process things very quickly. Now, the reason I bring that up is now you're playing basketball. You play basketball against someone who's never played before. There's like a dial in your head, okay? Because you put in 10,000 hours, that dial slows down. So in 1 second, he's just like, that guy's like, I'm gonna go left because I think he's gonna go left. And you start going left, but halfway through your left, in his full second, it's been like half a second. You start going right. Then you could get by him. That's why when it comes to basketball players, you can see who's better. The way the more hours you put into something, it's the slower that dial goes. All right, and it happens automatically. When I'm playing soccer and I do a step over, halfway through my step over, I can kind of see which way their body's going. So that dial just slows down, and in his head, his dial slowed down, but my dial slowed down even slower. So now I can process more stuff. That's why Steph Curry can move his hands. Drummers, when drummers are going, people think they're subconsciously hitting stuff, but no, it's like the time literally slows down. So when they go
like it sounds fast to us, but man,
they can see. If you ever watch a boxer like Ryan Garcia's like a young boxer. I think he's like 19, and he's hitting it fast, and he's hitting the speed bag, and speed bag's going so fast that the frames of the camera can't pick up with it. But our eyes can pick it up. His eye can pick it up. I can't pick it up. And he's hitting it. He can see it. He's not like he's just hitting it and then hoping for the best. He's hitting the speed bag 100% of the time. Floyd Mayweather, when he hits that speed bag 100% of the time, he can see it, and we can't see it. So like they're for them to see it, it's like they're slowing down time, and like it's almost as if like they're slowing down time, and everyone around them is moving in slow motion. This guy's throwing a punch, and they dial it back, and they see that punch coming in slow motion, and they're just like, okay, I just gotta move to the left.
Wow.
Speed time up, slow it down again, hit him in the face.
Yeah,
speed it up again.
You're so good at the skill.
You're so good
that you process it so much faster than everybody else.
You said you do a lot of video editing, right?
No, I just started. I just started with the video editing, like this, everything with the podcast. So the video editing's brand new for me. The audio editing, it's all very brand new.
Talk to me in 6 months. What you do now, you set the 4 a.m. That same amount of time you'll be able to do in like 30 minutes. Because you're moving so quick. Girlfriend's talking to you, hey baby, what's up? I'm good. You're gonna be doing it at the same time because you put so much time in. Time is actually slowing down for you. Yes. And now right now time is just going by so quickly. Like, it's 4 a.m. Time's gonna be slowing down. You're gonna be doing this, and you're gonna be doing stuff, and you're gonna be like, wow. Like, and eventually you're gonna get bored of it because like you can't slow down time any further.
What's taking me 5 hours to do, you'll probably do in an hour because I'm processing it so much faster.
And I bring that same concept to like education. You ever see a kid try doing math? Add what's 4 plus 6? They're like, you've done it 10 in your head.
Yes.
Okay, 1 second. 4, 6. 10. Took them 10 seconds to get that, but you've done it in your head so quickly. You're like, why are you going so slow? No, because you put in 10,000 hours of math, and they're on their like 7th or 8th hour.
That's amazing.
That's why it makes them feel like it's so slow. Or when you're talking to someone, and you're so good at reading things, like you can almost read their mind, and like before they even finish, you can finish their sentence. It's because you have so much more experience talking to people, and then they get mad when you kind of finish their sentence. Like, well, I know what you're gonna say.
I know. Yeah.
I know what you're gonna say because I have more experience than you, but. That's kind of how the whole training in 10,000 hours thing goes.
That's amazing.
That is dope, man.
Imagine the dial in your head when you're driving the 401 and someone's going to come hit you and you're moving over because you had 10,000 hours of driving. That's why you didn't get hit.
Very instinctual. At least for me, like, I notice with driving, sometimes I'm like, dude, I don't even think about it. It's just instinctual, right? Yeah, man. Definitely, man. I think just to wrap it up, you had that last question, and then we'll wrap this thing up. We're pushing 120, which is amazing.
That's amazing.
But then you had something about the internet or something like that. What was it?
In terms of the education system, they're trying to move into this kids doing courses online and all that. So what are your takes on that in terms of online learning?
I think it's amazing.
Really?
We personally do online learning. We've been doing it since 2016. I'll be completely honest with you. I was 100% against it because it hasn't been done
Currently,
before.
that's how I feel.
I was 100% against it until I did it. I think we don't do online learning for anyone under grade 8 because I don't think they have the attention. I can't see your body language very well. As an educator, I have to make sure you're paying attention.
Yes.
But if you're over grade 8, I think you're at the maturity level where you're like, I need to be able to do good at this to get to certain things in life. Online education, I think, is very good, is because if we want to, if we're gonna go to this place where we want to reach a certain amount of students who are in remote locations, like I know in Jamaica, we work with kids online in Jamaica. It's hard for them to get to certain places, to get to a main central location where they gotta wake up and then travel 3 hours to get to school, go to school and come back. But if they have the ability to just sit in their home and interact with someone on the computer, it might be more beneficial for them instead of commuting that 3 hours. Now, granted, when you go to school, I don't want it to take away from the fact that kids learn in groups. They learn from playing. They need to play with each other at the same grade. So if that child, if their main group of people are in that school, then I would believe going to school would be more beneficial than doing online. But if they have a community of kids, like you have a neighborhood here, if they have a community of kids who they can play with, then they don't necessarily need to do that in school. They can play with the kids in their community. So it all depends on that. I think it's very beneficial.
Definitely a future for it.
It's a future. There's a future for it, because right now, a lot of parents who are scared of the virus that is going around, the fact that we offer online, a lot of them are staying with us.
Yeah, that's a good point.
A lot of them are staying with us, right? Wow. And even times where there's a snowstorm outside, 19 centimeter snow, but you got a test next week, they stay with us. Or the kids in BC who we help, where it's just hard. We've had kids from Dubai ask us for help. We've had kids from England who ask us to help, and they want to learn English from Dubai, and so on and so forth. We can now reach so many more people and expand. But you also have to look at the consumer. How does this affect the quality of work? And that's why we don't go below grade 8. I did free trials for students throughout the summer just to see the lowest we can go. I did some in grade 2. Some of the grade 2s are amazing, but the majority of them just didn't work out.
Yeah, the reason why I asked that question is because on my first year of college, I had a marketing course I had to do online. But I think the one thing that made me not successful at that course was my time management skills. Because I was thinking I had enough time to go online and get my courses and projects done at the time frame that was given. But usually I will always find myself behind or running out of time to get that task completed. So once the talks came about online learning and online education, I was kind of against it. But from your perspective, if you're able to manage your time properly and just be excited, and also having the tools that are needed for you to excel, then it shouldn't be that troublesome. Right. But for me at the time, this is just coming from personal experience. At the time of my stint at Durham College there, my online courses were one of the most troublesome courses for me.
Yeah, you feel like that was that was challenging for you.
Very challenging. Just because if I needed help, I couldn't really get the help that I needed.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Because the terms of communications that I had on my prof was via email. Right. And sometimes they won't get back at you at the time that's needed that you need to get answers for, or the help that you need. So
there's drawbacks. There's definitely drawbacks to online. I don't think they should mandate it. They should give it as an option. But the same issues that you have, people still have that in person, right? Where at the end of the class, you can, especially university, the prof will sit back, answer some of the questions. But then they're like, come to my office hours. You go to get the office hours are full. We'll see a TA. You go to see the TA can't explain it just as good as the prof can explain it. Or maybe the TA explained it one way, but the prof who's marks it somewhere different. So a lot of the issues that you have in person happen as well as online. And that's why I think you should not do online under grade 8. You need to have hands-on experience and that face-to-face. You need to have that. And I think by grade 8, if they can then determine whether it's they should know themselves to that point where they can say, we can do this online or we can't. I'm not an online learner. Some people who are adults are just not online learners.
Exactly. Yeah. So 100%, man. That's amazing. Man. This came out a lot better. Not that I thought it was gonna be whack.
Tailored Tutoring, baby.
Menelek, man, this has been literally, I think so far, a very enlightening.
Is this a learning experience?
Dude, I've learned a lot. You know what I mean?
Good.
So I
feel like I just went through a full session. Luke's Tailored Tutoring. By the man himself.
Definitely, man. This was amazing. And then for our audience out there, definitely the goal was to keep it an hour, but there was so much gold that we just had to go over.
Information.
Yes, for sure.
Much information.
But with that in mind, man, obviously we do the send out is again, let the people know where we can find you, your website. So obviously, if this goes well, we obviously want this to be, obviously some promotion for you, right?
Absolutely.
So,
this is gonna go well. I can tell you that.
Appreciate it,
especially with you two guys. Again, so my name is Menelek Luke. Instagram is Luke's Tailored Tutoring. To keep it easier, go to our website, which is lukestutoring.com. From there, you can see everything that we do online and in person, and give us a shout out. We'll be there for you.
Well, it has been one of the best sessions we've had. I think since the duration of our podcast.
Yeah.
Menelek Luke, the man of the hour.
Thank you.
Hour and a half actually.
And it's all good.
Yeah, man. It's all good, man. Like I said, it's been a really good learning experience for me doing this podcast with you today.
Absolutely, man.
Absolutely.
And I wish you all the best, and I hope that all your students get a chance to listen to this, just for them to know how much you really care.
Students,
for your
parents, like, yeah, man. If you guys need, like, I mean, because if I have a kid. Or like, let's just say if I had a kid, oh, I'm 100% hiring you if my kid needs help. Like, just hearing how, like, your mindset, just everything, man. Like,
for sure.
You're definitely sold. Like,
more than
I need your services. Yeah, I'm sold for sure.
Yeah, man.
But definitely.
Yeah, because in this podcast alone, in this session alone, there's so many little things we can, like, I picked up from him. My time management skills, you know, like, especially
corporate taxes. I mean, you name it, man. Yeah, you name it. Absolutely, man. But for the world out there, man, for my 2 cameras, this has been an amazing episode number 2 of the Mind series. But with that in mind, man, this is G
Durrel
and TDP out, baby.
TDP out, 3rd Dimensions. Let's get it.